When I was 7, I got abused by my cousin sister. She was older than me and she was living with us. So, growing up, my parents were not really around all the time. So, I spent more time with her at home alone. As at then, I never knew what sexual abuse was or what I was doing then. But she would always make me finger her. The first day it happened, I was asking her if it was okay, and she said yes. And asked me not to tell my mom or tell my dad. Like, to be our little secret. She made me take an oath not to share with anyone. Innocently, it continued for a very, very long time. It got worse when she started touching me myself instead of me touching her the normal way it has been for years. So the first day she did it, I was bleeding so bad, but my parents were not around for me to share with them. So she took me, she made me take my beds, she cleaned me up and all. When my parents came back, I wanted to tell my mom, but my mom is a very judgy person and I could not come up to tell her what has happened. So I went to tell my dad. When I told him, he said I was making it up, that such a thing cannot happen. So I went out from the room. I cried so badly that night. And she came to meet me and said, nobody's going to believe you. It continued till I was in JS3. It made me grow up as a very quiet and sad child. Then I went back to my dad again to explain to him what has happened and how far it has gone, because she started using objects on me. So when I told my dad that if he doesn't do anything, I'll go to the church and I'll tell our pastor. I come from a very serious Christian home. So when I told him I was going to tell our pastor if he doesn't do anything about it, he called the girl. After all shouting and everything, they sent her home, back to her parents. But from then, I started liking girls. And I even dated one. My 300 level, I went to meet a guy I was getting to know then at his place. And he raped me. When I went back, I couldn't tell anyone. I couldn't tell my friends, my roommates, nobody. 3 months after, I noticed I was getting sick. I was noticing changes on my body. So I went to a hospital and did a pregnancy test. Came out positive, and I didn't know what to do. I called my elder brother and started explaining to him. He asked me to go home and tell my mom that she would know what to do. So I went home, called my mom, and I told her. And the first thing she would say to me was that she has always known that I'm a loose child. She called my dad. They were shouting. They discussed about it until my younger sister heard about it. So I left the house and I went to my auntie's place to stay. But I did not tell her what was wrong with me. From my auntie's place, I went over to the guy's place to tell him because I didn't know what next to do. When I went there, I told him about it. And he started beating me. He was beating and punching me in my belly. His friends that were around had to push him off. And I left. When I got to my auntie's place, I noticed I was bleeding. For I couldn't bring myself to tell my auntie what was happening. Who would I explain? The next day I went to a hospital. I explained to the doctor there everything that happened and how the whole thing started. He agreed that I was not going to pay for any checkup, any tests, that he was going to pay for everything by himself and then he will run the necessary tests. So when they did the tests, they found out that the baby was still intact. But they also noticed that I had hepatitis B. So he advised for the baby to be flushed out. He told me the things that might happen if I should keep the baby, the complications that might happen. So I accepted what he said. I went back home again and I told my mom about it. She said she will not be part of anything I want to do, that I brought it upon myself, so I should take care of myself. I went back to that hospital and told the doctor to go ahead with the process. I stayed in that hospital for a month and none of my family members came to check up on me, to call me, or to know where I was or how I was faring. That process was the most painful process of my life. I've never felt pain the way I felt that day. 3 months is a long time. The baby was far gone. The process was very, very painful. After the procedure, I was bleeding so bad. I told them to call my dad and tell him where I was and what was happening. When he came to the hospital, he said he was disappointed in me. He even called me a murderer to my face. When I was feeling better and I left the hospital, I attempted suicide twice while I was in school. The first attempt, someone walked in on me asked what was happening, and I could not bring myself to explain. The second time, it was my sister that called me that made me stop. I've been having health complications ever since that procedure, and I know it's from what happened. I can't bring myself to go to a hospital or go through that process again of checking if something is wrong with me or if I'm okay. I've rejected 2 marriage proposals since then because of the guilt I feel. I can't sleep at night unless I'm high. I feel bad. I feel terrible. I feel maybe I should have just kept the pregnancy and be okay with it. I feel I'm not worthy to have any good thing in life. I feel I'm not worthy to even get married and become a mother. The guy is married now. He has a child. And up till now, my parents have not discussed anything with me, or to even ask me what happened, why were you away, what did you do, how did the process go, are you okay? And I can't talk about it because of the way people see me. My image is going to be tarnished. I don't even know who to talk to and feel safe talking to the person.